I asked casually. That was the mistake. We were standing in my kitchen, the kettle just clicking off, the ordinary sounds of a weekday afternoon filling the space. I said it the way people do when they're trying not to make a thing out of something. "So, when's the wedding?" She didn't look up from her phone. Her thumb paused for half a second, then resumed its steady scrolling. "Oh," she said lightly, "we got married yesterday. Just for special people." There was no pause after that, no checking my face, no softening of the sentence. It landed and passed, as if she'd told me the weather. Yesterday. I remember nodding. I remember smiling in the way you smile when your body reacts faster than your mind. I even said something polite, congratulations, I think. The word floated out of me without weight. Inside, something rearranged itself. Not broke, not cracked, just shifted. I poured the tea. My hands didn't shake. I didn't ask who the special people were. I didn't ask why I hadn't known. I didn't ask my son anything later either. That silence wasn't strategy, it was instinct. On my drive home, the word special kept echoing, hollow and oddly clean. Not cruel, not dramatic, simply precise. Over the next few days, the memory returned in pieces, not as a scene, but as sensations. The way the kitchen light had been too bright, the way her voice had carried no defensiveness, only certainty, the way exclusion, when done politely, leaves no bruise you can point to. I told myself it didn't matter. Weddings are complicated. People do things their own way now. I was old-fashioned, that was all. I repeated these explanations the way one smooths a crease in fabric that refuses to lie flat. But something else kept surfacing. Moments. The times I'd transferred money without being asked twice. The groceries I'd dropped off unannounced when we were too busy. The rent I covered when my son said work was slow. The unspoken agreement that I would be there quietly, reliably, without needing acknowledgement. I began to see the shape of my role, and it wasn't the one I thought I'd been playing. A week later, my phone rang. I recognized her number and answered the way I always had. "Hi," she said. No greeting beyond that. No warmth, no tension either. Straight to business. "The rent is overdue. Did you transfer it?" I sat down. There it was. The continuation of a conversation I hadn't known we were having. I let a few seconds pass, not to punish her, but because my body needed time to catch up with my mind. I noticed how familiar her expectation sounded, how natural it felt to her to ask, how little context she offered, as if the answer were already assumed. In those seconds, something settled inside me. Not anger. Clarity. I replied, "Didn't I tell you?" The words surprised even me. They were calm, almost gentle, not accusatory, not explanatory, just placed there. There was a pause on the line this time, a longer one. "Told me what?" she asked. "That I wouldn't be handling things the same way anymore." Another silence. This one had weight. "I don't remember that," she said carefully. "That's okay," I replied. "I remember." I didn't elaborate. I didn't bring up the wedding. I didn't list sacrifices. I didn't explain boundaries like a lecture. I let the statement stand on its own, unsupported and firm. She exhaled, sharp. "So, you're not sending it?" "No," I said. "I'm not." The call ended shortly after. Not abruptly, just unfinished. I sat there with the phone in my hand, noticing what didn't happen. My chest didn't tighten, my stomach didn't drop. I didn't feel powerful or victorious. I felt aligned. That night, my son texted. Just a few words, confused, defensive, asking what was going on. I wrote back something simple. "I love you. I'm stepping back for a while." He didn't respond immediately. When he did, it was cautious, non-committal. We circled each other in sentences that avoided the real thing. That was fine. I wasn't chasing clarity anymore. Days passed. The silence changed texture. It wasn't empty, it was spacious. I noticed how often I'd checked my phone before, waiting to be needed, how being useful had become my proof of belonging. Without the transfers, without the errands, without the quiet fixes, there was a sudden question hanging in the air. Who was I when I wasn't required? The answer didn't come all at once. It came in small decisions, sleeping later, saying no without an excuse, letting calls go to voicemail when my body felt tired. It came in the relief of not rehearsing conversations in my head. There were no apologies, no dramatic confrontations, no grand recognition of wrongdoing. The world didn't rearrange itself to validate my choice, but something undeniable had shifted. When I saw them weeks later, the tone was different, polite, measured, less certain. They spoke to me the way you speak to someone whose limits you don't fully understand yet, and I didn't rush to explain them. I realized then that dignity doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand an audience. It appears in what you stop offering when the cost becomes invisibility. I was still a mother, still family, but no longer a background resource. I hadn't been invited to the wedding, and I had finally declined the role that made that exclusion possible. Quietly, without celebration, without regret.